All right, let's dive in. We're taking a deep dive today into the story behind Not Ready to Make Nice, the hit song from the Dixie
Oh
Chicks.
yeah, this one's a classic.
Definitely a story for the books, that's for sure, and one a lot of people might think they know. But we're going to go a little bit deeper here.
I think a lot of people forget just how much went down with this one.
Absolutely. So to set the stage, it's 2003. The Dixie Chicks, they are at the top of their game,
Oh yeah, huge.
selling out arenas, winning awards. They're kicking off a world tour. And where do they start it? London.
Gold move.
And it is on that London stage that one comment changes everything.
You know, it is really interesting how something that, looking back on it, seems so simple
Right.
could ignite such a firestorm. But you have to think about what was going on back then. It was 2003. The U.S. was on the verge of invading Iraq, and the nation was really divided on the issue.
Yeah, tensions were high for sure. So picture this. You're there. You're at the concert. You're in London. Natalie Maines, the lead singer, is on stage, and she says, "Just so you know, we're ashamed the President of the United States is from Texas."
Wow.
Now, at the time, maybe you think, okay, a little bold, but what's the big deal?
Especially in London.
Right. But you got to remember, this is the Dixie Chicks,
Yeah, country music
huge country music band,
and their audience.
predominantly conservative. And in that context,
Yeah, it was seen as a huge
oh, total.
betrayal
Yeah.
by a lot of their fans. And it wasn't even just about disagreeing with the president's policies. It was this very public shaming of him. And in a way, by extension, it felt like shaming a large portion of their fan base.
And so the backlash was brutal. Radio stations, especially in the South, the Midwest, they yanked their music from playlists. There were organized CD burnings.
I remember those.
I mean, it was wild. And the band even received death threats.
It's hard to imagine that happening today.
It really is. It's hard to even fathom that level of anger over a comment, but it really highlights how much power radio held at the time, especially for country music.
Yeah. I mean, those boycotts, they weren't just isolated incidents. Some of these were coordinated efforts by these big radio conglomerates.
Yeah.
They essentially cut the Dipsy Chicks off from a huge chunk of their potential audience.
It's almost hard to grasp that kind of power today, but it really brings up those big questions about the price of fame and freedom of speech, especially for artists. I mean, do they have this responsibility to stay silent on politics? Or do they have the right to use their platform to speak out, even if it risks alienating some fans?
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, artists are citizens too.
Yeah.
They have every right to express their opinions like anyone else.
Right.
But at the same time, their platform, it amplifies their words.
Yeah.
It gives them way more weight
For sure.
and influence
Yeah.
than the average person.
Yeah.
So they do need to be mindful, I think, of the potential consequences. And in this case,
Well, the Dixie Chicks, they definitely face consequences. But instead of backing down, instead of apologizing, they actually channeled all of that anger, the frustration, that hurt even, into their music. 3 years after the London incident, they released the album Taking the Long Way, lead single.
Not Ready to Make Nice.
Not ready to make nice.
I love that title, Taking the Long Way.
Oh, yeah.
It almost feels like a refusal.
Yeah.
Right? Like they are refusing to compromise on their values, refusing to just take the easy path back into the good graces of the industry.
Yeah. It's a declaration,
Yeah.
a big one.
Artistic integrity.
Even if it means, a longer road,
Totally. Longer, harder road.
a harder road to travel.
Sure.
Yeah, and Not Ready to Make Nice, it's the ultimate anthem, right, of defiance. This powerful statement about standing up for what you believe in, even when it feels like the whole world is against you. But there's also this vulnerability in the lyrics,
Oh, for sure.
this rawness that reveals the toll. Yeah, the emotional toll that this whole controversy took on them.
Absolutely. There's that one line I always think about. Forgive sounds good. Forget, I'm not sure I could. It captures that struggle of moving on, reconciling with what happened, while still acknowledging the pain. It wasn't just a brave face. They were processing it, and they were processing it through their music.
And then you add the music video, which is a whole other layer to the story. Visually, it's striking, full of symbolism, just perfectly complementing the song's message. It opens with Natalie, she's painting the other band members' white clothes black.
Oh yeah, that's a
career
Straight that
representation of a
becomes
boy
cut they face. Right. And then there's that scene where Natalie's being held back, almost like she's being
silence.
silenced. Yeah.
And then, the most powerful image of all, Natalie in a mental institution, desperately trying to break free. I think that scene in the mental institution, it really gets to me because it makes you think about how dissenting voices, right? They're often labeled as crazy or unstable just to discredit them.
Oh, yeah.
It's a tactic that's, been used forever. It's still used today. But the Dixie Chicks, they refused to be silenced. And that song, it became their way of reclaiming their narrative.
And reclaiming their narrative they did. But, it wasn't a simple victory. And that's what's so interesting about this whole thing. The fallout from that one comment in London, it would continue to impact their careers for years to come.
It's wild to think about how one sentence can have
such a ripple effect.
Yeah, a ripple effect for sure. And that's really just the beginning of the story.
You know what's interesting about Not Ready to Make Nice? It almost didn't happen.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so perfect, so powerful.
I know, right? But apparently the band, they actually tried to write something more, I don't know, conciliatory.
It's trying to smooth things over after all that backlash.
Yeah, like hey, everyone, sorry we upset you. But Natalie Maines, she just couldn't bring herself to sing it. Said it felt inauthentic,
Yeah, I can see that. Would have been like admitting they were wrong.
Totally. And they were anything but sorry.
So how did they even land on Not Ready to Make Nice? It feels so perfect for the song, like it was meant to be.
It's a pretty cool story, actually. They were working with Dan Wilson, this songwriter who'd worked with, people like Adele.
Big names.
Yeah, huge. And he'd worked with the Dixie Chicks before on their previous album. And apparently he just threw out the line, I'm not ready to make nice during a writing session. Just like that.
You're kidding. It was just a random suggestion.
Pretty much. And Natalie, she said it was like a light bulb moment. As soon as she heard it, she knew they had the heart of the song.
And he nailed it, right? It's like he bottled up that whole experience into, 5 words?
It's incredible. Everything else just fell into place after that.
And the music itself is it's so powerful, It's not your typical country ballad. It's got that driving beat, those soaring vocals.
It's got an edge.
Yeah, there's this urgency, this defiance, like they were breaking free from all the rules.
Yeah, they weren't playing it safe anywhere.
Exactly, and the critics ate it up.
Oh, yeah, they loved it.
Not Ready to Make Nice gets rave reviews. Rolling Stone calls it a defiant anthem.
I love that.
Entertainment Weekly praises the honesty, the boldness of it all. AllMusic, they say it's the Dixie Chicks at their best. Everyone's applauding their courage.
It's amazing.
But here's where things get really interesting. Despite being, totally shut out by country radio.
Oh, yeah, that boycott was still in full effect.
The song still climbs the charts. It peaks at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100.
You can't silence a message that people want to hear.
That's a good point. It shows their message. It resonated way beyond just the country music audience.
Definitely. It tapped into something universal. That desire to stand up for what you believe in, even if it means going against the grain.
And it wasn't just about the charts. The song wins 3 Grammy Awards.
Not just any Grammys.
Okay, what kind?
Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Country Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal.
Whoa! So they're winning over the critics, topping the charts, and cleaning up at the Grammys.
It's a comeback story, right? Except not really.
How so?
Well, they won those Grammys in 2007.
Okay.
They were introduced by Joan Baez.
Oh, wow. Talk about a symbolic moment.
Right. Legendary folk singer, activist. It was like a passing of the torch.
Yeah. Acknowledging the Dixie Chicks as part of this line of artists who use their voices to challenge the status quo.
Exactly. And remember, this is 2007. The war in Iraq is still going on. The country's still super divided. And the Dixie Chicks, they're still this lightning rod for controversy.
Winning those awards, though, especially Song of the Year, Record of the Year, that's huge.
It was a statement. The industry's elite were recognizing them.
It must have felt like validation, like they made the right call, even though it cost them so much.
But did it feel like a victory, though? I mean, they were basically exiled from their own genre.
That's a thing, isn't it? To be celebrated by the world and yet still shut out by the very people you came up with?
That's gotta sting.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if all that success, if it really felt sweet.
That's a great question, and it's something we'll explore more in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so stay tuned because there's more to unpack here. The Dixie Chicks story, it's far from over. So Not Ready to Make Nice. It became this anthem, this huge hit.
Oh yeah, awards, topping the charts, the whole thing.
But what happened next? Did the Dixie Chicks ever really recover, career-wise after all the backlash in 2003?
It's uh it's complicated.
It's never simple, is it?
Not really. I mean, taking the long way, the album with Not Ready to Make Nice, it was a commercial success. Sold millions of copies.
So that's a win, right?
On paper, yeah. They had a massive tour, sold out shows all over the world.
Okay, so they made a stand, created this hit record, and still had fans clamoring to see them. Sounds like a pretty good ending.
Except they never really recovered in the country music world. Especially in those more conservative areas, the radio stations, they just never really played their music again.
Wow, so they're embraced globally, they're winning awards, but back home in their own genre, it's like they hit this invisible wall.
That's a good way to put it. They were shut out.
Must have been a weird feeling. I mean, all that success, but still feeling this rejection.
Definitely. And it goes beyond music, right?
Yeah.
It's about culture, politics, the power dynamics of the industry.
Yeah, it's bigger than just one song.
Way bigger. The Dixie Chicks became symbols in this much larger story, and that had consequences.
And personally, it must have taken its toll, too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they went on a long hiatus after that Taking the Long Way tour.
A break was probably needed.
Definitely. Solo projects, family time, just stepping back to recharge.
I imagine it must have been a time for some serious reflection, maybe even questioning if it was all worth it.
It's easy to look back and say, oh, they did the right thing, but living through it, losing friends, fans, a sense of belonging in a genre that was their home.
It's tough.
Really tough. But they didn't disappear.
Right. Eventually, they returned, rebranded as The Chicks.
Love that.
Their latest album, Gaslighter, that came out in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Did that album give us any insight into, how they'd processed everything?
Oh, Gaslighter. It's a really interesting one. Themes of betrayal, manipulation, finding your voice.
Sounds heavy.
It is. And there are definitely echoes of Not Ready to Make Nice in there, but also this sense of growth, resilience.
Like they'd come out stronger on the other side.
Exactly. Reclaiming their narrative again.
It makes you wonder, would you be willing to do that? To stand up for something you believe in, even if it meant, facing that kind of backlash, risking everything?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
No easy answer. But I think what the Chicks showed us is that you can weather the storm, come out the other side, and still create music that matters.
Powerful music.
For sure.
They took the long way.
They did. And sometimes that's the only way.
It's a good reminder that the fight for what you believe in, it never really ends.
No, it doesn't.
No.
And sometimes the most important songs, they're not the ones that make us feel good. They're the ones that make us think, that challenge us, that make us feel something real.
And Not Ready to Make Nice is definitely one of those songs. It's a song that continues to resonate, to spark conversation, to remind us that using your voice, even when it's hard, well, that's what can make all the difference.